We've been having some awesome shows in the last few weeks, so I'm so pleased you could join us today. And for all our amazing American friends, happy 4th of July. I know you've all been partying on and enjoying the day, and so you should. For the rest of us around the world, we'll just join in with you from wherever we are in this amazing part of the globe. So this week we're going to have some interesting things we're going to talk about on the show. Yes, we will do a couple of free readings. We'll squeeze those in with this action-packed show we have today. We're going to feature the Simply Tarot card of the week, as we always do. We'll wrap up our fourth part in our series on Mercury. And we'll also have a little look at what's happening in the universe. So to kick the show off, I thought we'd start with our card of the week. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Amanda Hall. I'm a psychic. I'm from the Gold Coast. I've been in the industry over 40 years. And 13 plus years ago, I designed a set of tarot cards for an Australian publisher that went worldwide based on the Rider-Waite deck, the most popular common deck in the world. And we purpose shot photographs, and we added a little meaning to the bottom of the card, and that's the cards that I feature every week on the show. We draw a card of the week that is set the intention for the rest of the week for each and every one of us. So this week I thought it was an absolutely wonderful card I've drawn. It's the Wish card. It's the Seven of Swords. It's the card of our plans, our hopes. It is the Wished card, and it is the highest of the minor arcana. So I thought it was an absolutely magical card to share on the 4th of July to sort of say that we can make our wishes come true. So why don't you light a candle, set your intentions underneath it, what you'd like to bring into your life, and believe that the magic can happen. So following on from the card of the week, the Simply Tarot card of the week, we're going to now have a quick look at what's actually happening in the universe. So the universe is an amazing place, as we all know, and astrologically all the planets dance around this amazing universe each and every day. Some move faster than others, but it's what's known as a transit. Now, when the planets are transiting or moving around the zodiac wheel, they can form little patterns, or they decide to hold hands with each other, and the energies become more intense. So I like to sort of try and simplify astrology and make it easy for everybody to digest. So this little week's glimpse at what's happening in the universe, I want to still focus on the sun. The sun is the energy, which is where our ego, our drive comes from, and the sun currently at the moment is in the sign of Cancer, and it feels reasonably comfortable there. So happy birthday to all the Cancerians that have either had a birthday or are about to have their birthday. And at this point, the sun is actually conjunct or holding hands still with the planet Mars. Now, the planet Mars is our action, is our drive. Now, with both of these in Cancer, and I must say it's a loose situation where they're holding hands. They're sort of holding hands just very gently. They're not sort of really tight. So what they're asking each and every one of us to do is to look at our communication, look at what we can start in motion that we may have put on the back burner, or are we ready to launch a new project? This is the time to get our ideas out there and to get them heard. It's a time to be sort of gentle in our approach, maybe delve into our intuitional side of ourselves and look at what we can do to try and get our communication heard, or deal with those tricky areas in life that we've been sort of avoiding. And we all have those from time to time where we need to sort of look at the communication that's happening in our lives, and why do we need to speak up, or maybe sometimes even keep our mouth zippered. It's entirely a personal thing, but you'll know which situation suits you. Now, this leads us on to our final and fourth part in the series of Mercury that we've been working with over the last 3 shows. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication. Mercury is also the planet that gives us our intellect and where our sense of humour comes from. So it's always easy when you think of, communication, what comes verbally out of our mouths. No, communication can take on many forms. It's how we construct an email. It's how we send a text message. It's how we write poetry, or maybe we share our message in a song. A lot of people find it very difficult to talk about their emotions and how they're feeling, but sometimes they can share those thoughts in a poem that they've read, or taking a saying from someone else, or maybe even the lyrics to a song, and that sort of expresses how they feel about the person or the situation in their life that they need to get their message across. So communication can come in many forms. I always say to people, even having a good argument is constructive communication. It's not necessarily the suggested course of action for everyday problems, but sometimes it's the only way that we can get our message across. So for the final part in the series, we're going to work with Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces. Now, Mercury in Capricorn is a really interesting placement because Mercury in Capricorn is a little bit like the school teacher. Mercury here's got his red pen and he's marking things off and he's saying to you, hang on a minute, that's not exactly how the story went. You left out this detail, you added that there. Mercury in Capricorn likes everything to be verbatim. They like it to be precise, to be exact. Don't exaggerate it. Don't add anything to it and don't leave anything out. But it's interesting here also, Mercury in Capricorn also has an unusual sense of humour. And you quite often find people that have Mercury in Capricorn are said to have no sense of humour. No, that's not exactly true. They just don't like people wasting their time with trivial rubbish. If something is really funny, they will laugh at it. But if it's smutty or seedy, they just dismiss it and say, well, that was a waste of time. Bring me something that I can really understand and want to laugh at. So just remember, if you've got Mercury in Capricorn, be aware you don't always have to be the school teacher with the red pen and correct friends and lovers and colleagues when they get the information wrong. Everybody has a different take on what they see as their truth. So it's interesting now when we move to Mercury in Aquarius, because this is one of my favourite areas of Mercury, because Mercury is the planet of communication and Aquarian energy is the epitome of doing things differently, of randomly pulling something out of nowhere. This is where the most amazing ideas can come from. Aquarians can have that real light bulb moment where they just sort of pull a one-liner out of nowhere and it's the most brilliant statement that's ever been made. Or they've just invented something that they didn't even realise they were going to invent, and it's just sort of come into their mind like a bolt of lightning. So Mercury in Aquarius can sometimes be a little bit hard to follow because these people, their minds work so quickly. It's almost like everything that they talk about is in code or in shorthand, and you have to fill in the gaps around it. But it's because their mind works so fast, it's so sharp, and it can process so much information like a computer hard drive. They even have times there where it's difficult for them to even keep up with their own mind. So bear that in mind if you have a friend or a family member that has Mercury in Aquarius. Sometimes their own mind is hard for them to keep up with. So we come to our final sign, which is Mercury in Pisces. Now, again, when we're still looking at communication, but now we're going to put it into a water element. We're going to change Mercury into something magical. Because Mercury here says, okay, let's get creative. I can see things, I can feel things, I can hear things, I can create things. I can put it into a mystical sort of way. I can create the most beautiful photographs. I can create the most beautiful movies or videos because I have this creative flair that helps me paint pictures with words. And I can transpose that into many, many different mediums. So people that have Mercury in Pisces are usually incredibly creative, very musical, or very artistic, or maybe all three. They have the ability to be able to understand things in a very artistic, creative way where somebody with Mercury in Capricorn would be standing there scratching their head and saying, yeah, well, that's pretty, but let's get to the practical side. So be a little bit gentle on our dear darling Piscean friends that have Mercury in Pisces because that's where our creativity comes from. They have a brilliant mind in that way and they don't want to deal with the nuts and bolts or the finances. They just want to create. So why don't we let them do that? So we're going to take our first caller and it's Becky in, I better put my glasses on because I can't quite read it, Becky. Becky in Meadowview, Virginia, USA. Are you there, Becky? Happy 4th of July. Hello, Becky. I'm sure Becky will join us in a minute or two. Are you there, Becky?
Hello.
Hello, Becky. How can I help you?
Good. How are you?
Very well. Have you had a nice 4th of July, Becky?
Yes.
Good. So do you have a question I can help you with, sweetie?
Like any question?
Any question you like, sweetheart? Yes, anything.
My job situation.
Okay. All right, Becky, tuning into your job situation, I can see that there's been a few changes around the job scene in the last couple of months, and I'm going to say to you, I'm not sure that the way the job is heading actually feels comfortable to you. I sort of feel you're questioning whether or not it's time to look for another job, or do I give it a little bit more time? Do I persevere with this? Will it get better? Will I sort of go back to feeling comfortable with it? What they're showing me is I feel in September, Becky, that there's going to be a major decision that you're going to need to make. Now, I'm not saying that the job is coming to an end. What I'm saying is I think you're the one that will make the decision to look for another job, Becky. And I feel that that will come as early as September, where you feel comfortable enough that, yes, I've given this enough time. It's not getting any better. It's time for me to start looking at what I need to be doing for myself. And I do see another job coming towards you, which to me has a lot more security, and I feel a little bit of extra money on top of what you're earning now. But more importantly, you're going to be happy there, Becky. And I think that's the important thing. It's like the job itself, I think, that you're in at the moment, there's a time and a season for everything, and the season with this job is coming to an end. It's no longer giving you the satisfaction that it once did. So it's time now for you to be looking to broaden your horizons and look for something new.
Yeah.
So is that how you're
that
feeling?
Sounds good.
Pardon?
That sounds very good.
Yeah, and then your job fits you like a glove, Becky. It's sort of like it's time. You know, sometimes I think as we get older, we put a little bit of fear into, you know, oh, maybe I shouldn't change because maybe I'm being silly, or I won't get a better paying job, or I won't get something that's going to make me any happier. And we hold ourselves back from what is the natural time for us to make a change. And then if something does force us to do that, it's not always in a pleasant way because we've ignored our own timetable. And that's what I'm saying. I want to be very clear with you. You haven't ignored your own timetable. It's very close now. So any time between now and September, but I strongly was shown September was when the opportunity would present itself, and it was smooth and it was quick and it was positive. So best of luck with your job hunting, Becky. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. So we'll just wait for our next caller to come in. So it's been an interesting week astrologically for most people around the globe. A lot of people have been saying to me they've been feeling a little bit restless with Mars sitting in Cancer, because Mars likes to stir everything up and sort of make us feel a little bit titchy as he sort of, you know, tries to heat the water up, I suppose. It's sort of, you know, he's taking it from being cool to lukewarm to sort of starting to get a bit of a boil up so that we can start to move things along in our lives. I think sometimes when we get halfway through the year, we tend to get a little bit complacent sometimes about those New Year's resolutions that we set all that time way back in January, but it's sometimes time to dust them off and have another look at them and see what we have actually achieved, what we need to modify and change, and maybe what we can bring in this second half of the year. And for those of you that live in the Northern Hemisphere, this must be your favourite time of the year, is in those warmer months of the year. And I believe in the warmer months of the year is when we should take the most action. It's when we should get up off the couch and do something really constructive with our lives. For those of you that live in the Southern Hemisphere, this is the time of year where we're sort of being asked to retreat a little bit. The weather's cooler. It's time to sort of look at your life a little bit more, go inside yourself, do your soul searching, look at the things that you need to change in your life and get ready for the action when we start to get the warmer weather. So it always amazes me how much that the influence of the planets do sort of make in our lives. And whether we want to consciously say that we acknowledge it and we work with astrology or not, it does affect each and every one of us. We automatically tune into the cosmos. Whether we believe we do or we don't, we do tune into the cosmos, and we are able to harness that energy that takes place each and every day. And it's interesting because people say to me, well, how come some days I feel really motivated and then the next day I get out of bed and I'm really dragging myself around? And the answer to that is a lot of times it is connected to the moon, because the moon, the emotional energy, moves so fast that the moon really governs, I think, sometimes our energy levels. You can get out of bed some days and you can really take the world by storm, and then, you know, a few hours later you can feel like you've been run over by 3 Mack trucks. And I think that the answer to that is when the moon's changed out of, say, a very positive, fiery energy like Leo and moved into Virgo halfway through the day, and it's sort of like, boom, all my energy's dropped. It's become grounded, it's become slower, it's become more methodical. It's sort of asking me to go deep inside myself instead of being the drama queen, instead of being lively and on the stage. So that just gives you a little bit of an answer there at why sometimes our energy can even change during the course of the day. Now we're going to go to Jody in Summertown, Tennessee, USA. Are you there, Jody? Happy 4th of July.
Yes, I am. Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, sweetie. Have you been partying on?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Have you been partying on, enjoying the 4th of July?
Oh, no, I am horse-sitting my horse because she's afraid of fireworks.
Right. Oh, well, that's understandable. So how can I help you tonight, Jody? Do you have a question I can help you with?
Well, I was wondering, oh boy, there's so much on my mind, but what I was wondering was in regards to my career. I'm currently working multiple jobs in the same field, but I'm thinking about starting my own business, and I'm just not sure if I'm too old maybe to get there and should stay where I'm at. I don't know.
Okay, Jody, first things first, I mean, the fact that you're asking the question is an important thing. It means that the universe is trying to say to you, okay, Jody, let's look at options. Let's look at what's going on in your life at the moment. Let's look at it under a microscope. And every time you go and look at something under the microscope, what you keep seeing is that, gee, if I was doing that my way, I'd do it this way. I could see a way of doing this better. So these are all the little triggers that are sort of suggesting to you maybe it's time to look at becoming self-employed. And that's good. But then comes in the next layer that says, hang on a minute, but what if I give up my day job and all of a sudden I haven't got a regular income? Am I prepared? Am I ready for that? Am I really ready to step out there and go into the big, bad, wide world and become self-employed? It's a huge risk. It's a huge leap of faith. And it's also something that I'm not trying to talk you out of doing, Jody. What I'm saying to you is, if that's what you feel very drawn to, then by all means, I think we need to start preparing for that. And preparing for that would be looking at all the things that go with being self-employed. You know, what would it take to set up a business? What are the compliances by, you know, government regulations or industry regulations that you would have to comply to? How much money would it take? Do I need to have, you know, commercial premises? All these questions need to be answered. So I feel what we could be doing here is looking at all these sort of things, then looking at maybe doing a business management course or something like that that prepares you and gets you ready and helps you look at some of the other areas that maybe you hadn't thought of, and then look at the feasibility, am I ready to do this? Now, what I'm being shown is, yes, I do think that this is a real positive direction, and I do feel that you will gravitate towards self-employment. I just don't think it's going to be this year, Becky. What I think this year is about is preparation and really sort of preparing and looking to see whether or not this is something that I can do. I would also suggest, if at all possible, if maybe we can try and get a business off the ground while you're still gainfully employed, so that we then take that pressure off of having to earn money, that you can just focus on growing the business and trying to get it up and established, and then sort of maybe then take the leap of faith once you feel you've got it to a point that, you know, okay, there's not enough hours in the day. I've got to make a decision to leave the day job and then follow this. But there may also be a way where we can scale back the day job to maybe a more part-time situation and then focus more on the business and make the transition easier. What they were sort of showing me was that I didn't really feel that there was going to be the real leap towards this before about March next year. Now, it's not saying we can't prepare for it. It's not saying we can't do our research or even start the business up before then. But what they were showing me in real earnest is when it starts in March next year or thereabouts. So it's a time now of really giving this a lot of thought. I think it's something that's been in your mind for a long time now, Jody. I don't think it was just something that happened last week. You've been feeling this way for a long time. So I think we really need to honour this and explore the opportunity of this and see where this could go. I do feel you've got what it takes to make a successful business, and I do feel that you are able to sort of really realistically look at what it would take to do this. You're not looking at it through fairy image eyes and sort of just thinking, oh, great, it'll be great to be self-employed and I'll have all this money and I can go to golf 3 days a week. You're not looking at it in that unrealistic expectation. You know that this is going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of energy and a lot of time, and you know that you're prepared to put that in. So I wish you every success with it. I think you will make the transition into complete self-employment, and I do think you'll be very successful with it, Jody, but it will be hard work, and it's something that you have to be really ready for.
Yeah.
So is there someone else that might come into the business with you? Because I could see a dark-headed man around the business as well.
Okay.
Is there someone else that might come into the business with you as a partner?
Not that I know of. I'm a dog groomer,
Right.
and I don't know very many other people around here. So
I don't know. I just saw a dark-headed man around it. Now, that could be somebody that might help mentor you, or might be somebody that helps you, get all the compliance in place. But I just saw this dark-headed man having a great influence over you going into this self-employed situation.
is it, would you happen to know if it was age-wise, if it was a younger man, older man?
He looked to me to be in his late 30s, early 40s mark. I only saw his head. I didn't see anything else. They didn't show me in what capacity in the business he was going to be. It was just that he was there. And that's why I thought, I'll ask, are you looking to take on a partner? Because this man seemed to have a big influence in how you were going to structure this.
Okay.
But that could be just somebody that shows you the compliance that needs to meet, council, local government, or government, regulations too. It could be somebody just, that you're going to get advice from, how to structure this properly. So, they don't always show it to me clearly at what the role is. So, but I know you're going to be very successful with it. So with the dog grooming thing, would you then look at sort of having other services that are attached to that, like sort of maybe accessories and food, or?
Probably, yeah. It would, there would probably be an extra, like an external business, like for people who go away on vacation, for me to take care of their farms too, actually.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff, because I could see a website and I could see sort of like a shop on a web, but I also sort of felt there was other strands to this. Like, to me, the dog grooming was only one part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. I feel very excited about it because I actually feel the business will take off. I think you'll have to have other people working with you, even if it is only on a part-time capacity, because I think there's only one of you and you're not going to be able to do everything. You're not going to be able to be grooming the dogs, walking the dogs, and feeding and looking after them. There's only so many hours in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. I mean, if they're showing me that you're going to need staff, that means you're going to be successful.
I hope so.
Never mind you hope so. Always put it in the positive, I know so. It's what we put out to the universe is what helps us manifest these things. And that's what I mean. I mean, you'll do your research, you'll get everything sort of sorted out with this, and you'll build this up slowly, like while you've still got the day job going on, which is good. That's the correct way to go into a business. Then that way, you sort of not throwing yourself completely into the deep end. But I also sort of felt that you were going to build up a network of services around you that were sort of like add-ons or people referring to you and you referring to them. There was going to be quite a nice networking happening with businesses that are connected with you, you know, like a local vet and things like this. So there was lots of opportunities there to sort of bring business in many different angles.
Right. Huh.
Which is good.
Yeah, because right now I work for 2 vets, so.
Feel, if I can just interrupt you, Jody, I did also sort of feel that a bit further down the track you would work with dogs that had emotional problems or behaviour problems.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's something I think that interests you, but it's not where you're going to start. But that's sort of something that the business is going to gravitate into.
Okay.
Which is good.
Behavior.
I think you're going to have a really, really successful business. So, you know, you'll be looking to get your own premises eventually where you can accommodate all these things in one place, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, because my daughter is, my foster daughter, she's training right now to be a canine officer at a Virginia prison.
Oh, wonderful. There you go. See, that might be something that you'll end up doing is training the dogs for that. There's many different areas this can take, Jody. So I think one step at a time, do your homework, do your research, get everything properly set up with compliance, and I can't see a problem. Anyway, good luck with the business, Jody. We've only got a very limited amount of time left on the show now. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. It's been a great show as always. Next week we're going to start our new 4-part series. We're going to be looking at Venus, the planet of love and affection, moving through the zodiac signs, and how does that affect you? One of my favourite planets, Venus, because it shows us the things that we love to do in our life, not just the types of love that we attract in our lives as in relationships.